What's going on, folks? Life Lessons with Juvy. I am your host, JuvyThaKid. Hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Periscope, at JuvyThaKid, JuvyThaKid. Let's get into the topics. Cannibal kill. Why do cats like to invade personal space 24/7? I think this is a pretty easy one. I don't know. Cats are attention whores. For some reason, they always need somebody to pet them and everything. So I don't know. Little Jenny Wren. Fandoms enhance or stifle the creative process of writers/directors. Okay, so this is actually a really good one. And it brings up another little point that I want to dive into quick before I get into this one. A lot of the time, like, people will get, like with Walking Dead, Daryl isn't part of the comics. Like, he's not in the comics at all. A lot of people don't really like that, that he's in the show because he's not part of the comics. And a lot of people, he's a fan favorite. So, it's kind of one of those things, like, I feel like a lot of people will complain when things aren't close to the comics, but they don't mention the scenes that actually are, like, completely right from the comics. Just to warn everybody, spoilers ahead. If you don't know what happened on the season premiere of Walking Dead, Season 7, I'm about to talk about it right now. Okay, so with Glenn's death and everything, like, what Negan says to him and everything, it's right from the comics. The only thing they really, like, kind of, like, extended on, like, between, like, Glenn and him was at the end. Like, his last words, instead of just being Maggie in the comics, in the show he says, like, Maggie, I'll find you. And if you remember from, like, earlier seasons, that's kind of, like, what they've said to each other, and they've always kind of, like, had to be, like, split up for one reason or another. But, like, that scene is comic accurate, you know what I mean? So I know, like, sometimes it sucks because, like, you know, certain things from the comics we don't get to see. But think about the ones we do get to see on screen that are, like, literally from the comic pages for us to see. Let's keep it going, though. Do I think it enhances or stifles the creative process for writers and directors of things? It all depends. Because, like, I think Walking Dead is one of the biggest things. There's tons of things that are different in that. The governor, especially, like, off the top of my head, and fucking Rick's hand. But, like, it's also one of those things where it's like, when you're doing a project, you have to kind of also look at, like, the budget and everything. Like, certain things from the comics, they might not be able to pull off, like, realistically and everything with their budget for a long period of time. You know what I mean? So I think it really all depends. Because, okay, so with, like, Merle and Daryl, I don't know why I keep going to Walking Dead. Probably just because I've been watching it a lot lately. But either way, like, with Merle and Daryl, like, their story is actually, like, it was something in the show that a lot of people liked. I don't know, it's one of those things, you can't really deny that it doesn't make for good stories, at least, and it doesn't, like, draw you in somehow. There's obviously certain other things where it's kind of like, it's weird. Like, it doesn't really fit, or it doesn't make sense, like, you know what I mean? Sometimes a lot of the, like, in the comics, or, like, with, like, other people's, like, fan ideas, it kind of, like, it could actually make for something that's, like, really dope, Merle and Daryl, or it could be something that kind of, like, stands out and just doesn't really make sense, and, like, you can't help but question it. The governor. But sometimes, like, it's one of those things, too, like, with cosplay and stuff, like, a lot of times, like, people do these mashup costumes, and some of them end up being, like, really fucking dope, and it could, like, if certain people, like, producers or whatever have you, see it at the show, or see it at the Comic-Con, they could see it as a good idea, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's all one of these situational things, too, because, like, some fans, like, it's like they watch the show just to see what happens with, like, certain people, so they don't know the rest of what's going on, so they'll suggest things that completely don't fucking make sense, don't really, like, fit, like, the show at all. But then there's other people that even like will have fan theories that like are kind of like solid, you know what I mean? Or they're at least like entertaining to listen to. But like it adds a little something to the show, or it could, depending on who sees it. Yeah, I think it all depends on what kind of input it really is. You know what I mean? And it depends on how much like how many resources the show has at its disposal. I don't know. Yeah, I think like it could enhance it in some ways, but if there's too much like fandom trying to like seep its way in, I think that could definitely ruin whatever it is. I don't know. I kind of like seeing like different visions like of the characters. You know what I mean? Like in one thing, like a character might be one way, but then through talking with fans or like just the way the writer for the show or movie sees it, they kind of like have like a different vision in a way, and that it ends up working. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It all depends on what kind of input's brought to the table. Little homie 127, how to find inner peace and self-love, not the touch yourself type. What are some good tactics to bring back what some people may lose sight of? You got to go back to what got you to the dance, like what worked for you back then. You know what I mean? And have patience, because like that's one of the biggest things. People will jump back into a old hobby or whatever, and expect it to like the first time you do it or second time, you're like happy and you're back to those old mood or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you got to give it time. You got to be patient and you got to be consistent with it too. Yeah, revisit like old hobbies that may have like helped you in the past. Break out of like your usual norm. Like, you know, if Monday to Friday you're at work and then you get off like 5 or 6, whatever it is, you come home, you watch the same thing, or you flop down and do the same shit. Like it's just a cycle over and over. Do something different. You know what I mean? Like instead of going home right away, like stop off at the mall or some shit. Do some window shopping. See if there's any new movies that you wanted to see. Like there might be something at the theater, or it might come out on out on DVD and Blu-ray. Just like break out of like the monotonous cycle of just like fucking Groundhog Day. You know what I mean? Just the same shit over and over. What's another one? I think, or it's like if you're going through something, then you could like talk to somebody or watch like a documentary or like interview whatever about like someone you look up to, like in sports, entertainment, whatever it is, and like their story kind of like inspires you. Just it might be because they've been through more shit and like pushed through it, or like just for any amount of reasons. You know what I mean? But yeah, you could look to like other people's kind of like stories and like see you're not alone, or things might not be as worse off as you thought, because we get caught up in those negative things and we lose sight of like what's really around us. You could go back to old hobbies and everything, see how that works for you. Yeah, that's all I can think of right now. I don't know. If you guys have any, comment below. Alright, that was Life Lessons. I'm your host, as always, unless it's your first time, JuvyThaKid. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchattery, Periscope, at JuvyThaKid, JuvyThaKid. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. My quiet kids, freaks, and weirdos, for the love of everybody, keep being weird. And just as I'm about to start editing and everything, Jenny Wren sneaks one last one in. So let's do this. Religion versus spirituality. Do you feel there's a difference? Can you be one without the other? Which is more beneficial to the modern world? Really, like, everyone's gonna try and argue and say, well, like, religion's real because Jesus existed, and, like, whatever, you know what I mean? And spiritual, like, people where it's more spiritual, they're gonna argue that, like, what they believe is right. You know what I mean? So this is just my opinion, what I think. So don't fucking go off in my comments. I honestly don't feel there is a difference. it's one of those things like even in like what is it, Catholicism, Christianity, Holy Spirit, like it's part of their shit. You know what I mean? I think it's definitely one of those things where it's just it comes down to like what you attribute certain things to. If you believe that God created trees and the flowers and the universe around us, then that's what you believe. If you believe that the cosmos is just like we are part of it and everything around us is like something like connected to us and the universe, then I don't know. Who am I to say you're wrong? I honestly, it's one of those things. Like people also try and mistake like religion and mythology. It's one and the same. Um, you believe that an ancient being like existed a long time ago, for some reason passed away, and now has some sort of power and control over the world, much like God and Jesus, or Zeus or Hades, and so on and so on. Like, it's all the same, you know what I mean? Religion is mythology, and you're believing in a higher, like, power, like a cosmic power, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? So it really is one and the same when you think about it. Can you be one without the other? Yeah, I think you can, because there are some people who believe in Jesus as like a physical being and God as like a physical being, or whatever they want to like chalk that up to, and they don't believe in like other things like energies and like spirits or anything like that. And there's some people who believe that like the universe and things around us kind of like tell us certain things, and that like Jesus and God are stories that we created for what some reason or another. So yeah, I think there is like a bit of a defining line with like some people, but I think with most it's kind of like one hand washes the other type of situation. Which is more beneficial to the modern world? Um, well, there's too many fucking stupid arguments going on all the time because of like different religions. Uh, I don't know. Maybe spirituality, like just like thinking about things in not such like a confined box, and like there's this little person over top of it all that's like allowed to say what's right and wrong and like whatever else. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think spirituality may lend more of a helping hand to the modern world, especially since honestly, like a lot of religions, people don't really buy into like the whole thing anymore. They'll like certain aspects of it, or it's just the way they were raised. But like more, a lot of people don't really buy into like the organized religions and everything of the world. So, yeah, spirituality probably help us out a little bit more. All right. Quiet kids, freaks, and weirdos.
Keep being weird.